Welcome to Creative Thrive. On today's episode, we delve into the journeys of remarkable individuals whose creativity transcends mere artistry to touch lives and foster change. Today, I'm honored to share the story of a woman whose life's work is a testament to the power of combining personal passions with a purpose greater than oneself. A tattoo artist, Army veteran, and mental health advocate, she has transformed her studio into a haven for those seeking solace and expression. Her work, especially with clients navigating the challenges of PTSD, ADHD, or neurodivergence, goes beyond the skin, creating lasting impressions on body and soul. Through her collaboration with Operation Tattooing Freedom, she extends her artistry to fellow veterans, offering solace and connection through vet-to-vet tattoo sessions aimed at combating depression, anxiety, and PTSD with every stroke of her needle. Her unique blend of artistic talent, personal military experience, and prior work as a hairdresser and makeup artist have all converged to create a business that's as much about supporting mental health as tattooing itself. Join us as we explore how she uses her skills to make a difference in the lives of others. Please welcome to Creative Thrive, Cecilia Marie.
Hi. It's lovely to speak with you today. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
really
of course.
Appreciate it.
I'm so excited to have you on, to have this conversation with you, and to let everyone know I became aware of you after we were both at an event in San Diego for Vagaro, our software system. And I was MC of the award show. Vagaro were giving events out to their clients, and you were one of the winners.
Yes, I was.
And again, you know, for anyone listening, when you're at these events, you don't often have a lot of time to socialize and chit chat, regardless of what anyone thinks. So I didn't have a lot of time to chit chat, but as I was doing the introductions and I listened to you speak, I was so taken with the work that you do and the way you give back to, first of all, veterans, and to your community with some of the things that you do that we'll talk about later. When I decided that I was doing a podcast, I could not wait to have a conversation with you.
Oh, that's so awesome. I feel so honored, and I'm so glad to be able to share my story because it can help somebody else as well. So I'm
Absolutely. So you've been tattooing for 10 years?
Yes. I've been tattooing for 10.
And I understand before that, you were a hairdresser and a makeup artist.
Yes. I've been a lot of different things, but makeup artist, hair, and also, I don't know if this counts, but like body painter, special effects. That kind of goes with makeup as well.
Absolutely, it counts.
Yeah.
It leads into the creativity.
Absolutely.
Of it all. I also read somewhere or heard in an interview that you did that you went to art school or you studied art a while.
Yes, I went to several different art schools. Before I joined the military in high school, I went to a vocational school for fashion design. Graduated from that in 2001. I did my time in the military, in the Army, did 4 years. And when I got out, I went back to school doing fashion merchandising. And I kind of, because my interest in art kind of goes everywhere, I also kind of ventured into interior design, went back to fashion, and then it kind of gradually went towards like graphic design. And then I ran out of my GI Bill money and then went to hair school. I went to Paul Mitchell, which I loved, absolutely loved. And I would hope to meet you then. So it's really kind of fun twist of fate that it brought me to you.
I love that. So tell me, it sounds like there was always this creative expression that you had, whether it was through art, hair, makeup, body painting, that has now kind of the journey has taken you into tattooing.
Yes.
and that form of creativity. Tell me why tattooing?
I think for me, going to different art schools, and even though I've always had that passion for art, it wasn't until I got out of the military and I started to get more tattoos myself as a form of therapy. I basically went from a war zone to civilian life with two young kids. So, in a way, I got tattoos to like remember people that I've lost, or just remember that part of the journey. And so it just became more therapeutic for me. And when I was in art school, everybody started asking me to design tattoos for them. So I'm like, oh, okay, I could try. So that's kind of what started veering my journey to more tattoo work instead of fashion or interior. I just started drawing more for tattoos, and that's when the obsession began.
And it's interesting and something I've never thought of. So it feels incredibly interesting to me to hear you say that coming out of the army and the things that you saw and the things that you experienced, that getting a tattoo was a form of therapy for you.
Yes. I think because I was fresh 17 when I joined during 2001. Still a baby. I got married really young, and then went to Afghanistan, went to Iraq, had my children kind of in between deployments. That was really, words can't even describe the things I've seen. And trying to process that mental health back then in 2005 when I got out really still wasn't talked about that much. I come from a long line of veterans in my family, and I saw how mental health wasn't talked about. So when I got out of the military, I didn't have an outlet, and it really wasn't something talked about. And it's also like a pride thing too. You kind of don't want to admit there's something wrong. Then you feel like there's something wrong with you.
Mm.
And there was still that stigma. And so a way to kind of release that tension, feeling a little bit of that pain was a weird release. And anyone that gets tattoos and piercings can also attest to that. It's like a release, and it makes you feel better afterwards. And I believe that can be contributed to. It's almost like if you're familiar with EMDR therapy,
Yeah.
it's like that. You're taking something that was a bad memory and kind of turning it around to something more positive. So that's what always interested to me, that I wanted to change the way our trauma looks and make it better, healthier coping skill.
I love that. And I believe I had to, sorry, I went away
It's
for a
okay.
second because you said something that is so incredibly true.
Mm-hmm.
Unless anyone has experienced what you have experienced, they
Mm-hmm.
have no idea.
Correct.
And that is so correct. And
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine
Mm-hmm.
and I can have empathy,
Right.
but I truly do not know. And
Right.
for many of us, we do not know. And I think the thing that I just found so fascinating, and I was so curious and wanted to have this conversation with you after meeting you and hearing you talk about being a veteran and working with veterans and turning the pain and
Mm-hmm.
the scars into works of art was
Yes.
just such a beautiful way to look at things.
I try to, even if you might not have seen the things that we've seen, the fact that you do have the understanding and empathy, you don't always have to be from the military to have PTSD. All of us have gone through something traumatic. And that's the beauty of also what I do. It's not just veterans. I help anyone that wants that safe space to talk. And a lot of us have trauma. And if you have researched anything like, what is it called? Epigenetics,
Mm-hmm.
where trauma is stored and passed through your DNA. and the way trauma affects our DNA. It's just very interesting. And I just made that connection the more and more I started to get more involved with tattoos and talking more, with my own therapist and encouraging other people to seek help when they need it. And for me, getting tattoos and giving them was so therapeutic and really made me feel like that's what I'm meant to do in this world. I knew for me to help through my own traumas, helping pull somebody out of it too helps everybody. And I think that's why we're here on this earth, is to help us kind of get through this life.
Yeah, I agreed. And I think again, when you can have these conversations and build these spaces, which we're going to talk about, that truly support, uplift, take care of community from an understanding of what the path that you have walked and the perspective that you have, it makes such a difference. In the opening, I talked about your business and your studio. You call it a safe space, and you've built a really supportive environment for your clients, particularly those with PTSD, mentioned ADHD,
Yes.
neurodivergence, which is a large spectrum and shows up and manifests differently for so many people. That's obviously something that you have needed is a space like that.
Yes.
And you recognize to build that for other people. Tell us about what that looks like and how that helps.
And I believe too, when it comes to neurodivergence, and which is a term that's come out recently, and I really, really, it sums up kind of everything. And with PTSD, ADHD, trauma, all these things they intertwine with each other. And so, I wanted to create that space because I definitely needed it. I was lucky enough to be in a studio where they understood where I was coming from. And the only reason I left there is just because it was a large studio. I left on great terms, and they always knew I wanted something private. But it got to the point where I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD. I had severe ADHD. I wasn't diagnosed till about 2 years ago, because a lot of us, we have life that happens and we think we're all over the place because there's so much going on. Well, I kind of, with therapy, got rid of all my traumas for the most part. So I'm like, why am I still like this? So I got a late diagnosis. And as I started to understand that about myself and coming to work, I attracted a lot of the same type of clients, which I loved. And that's exactly what I wanted. And so it just got to the point where I knew I needed to have my own space. And so I made that jump, and I started planning, and I was always communicating that with, people around me. And, I've been in this space for about 2 years, and it's just really been, everyone loves it as soon as they walk through the door. And it just makes my heart so full to know that I can give that space and I can concentrate and really focus on conversations. 'Cause that's what's really important to me, is the connection and the journey. That's what got me into tattooing.
Tell me about that. Obviously, the creativity and the artist is there in Cecilia. You're obviously an artist, which I want to explore more with you. But tell me about that journey. Was it connecting with people through your art? Was it trying to uplift people? What was the path that you just went, oh, this is it?
Yeah. So, okay. Getting out of the military was tough, and that's when I started to go down a very dark path, as most of us do. And I started using art. Art has always been my therapy ever since I was a kid, and so I really dived deep into the art world, and getting more tattoos. And I lived in Colorado for a little bit, and I had a young lady I was friends with. She asked me to design a tattoo for her son. That she was on her own personal journey, and she wanted to do this for her son. So I drew the tattoo. It was just a nautical star, really simple, and had some like flames. This is 2007, so some flames on there. And she was going through her own struggles. Well, and this is going to get a little sad, so trigger warning. Her son is no longer of this earth. And she was like, I really want to take this tattoo that you drawn for me, and I'm going to go get it tattooed. And she was so appreciative that I drew it for her. And that's when I kind of realized, I want to do that. Like, I want to honor your family. I want to be part of that to where, because not all tattoo artists are understanding about that.
Mhm.
Most are, but there's a lot that don't care about that. And that's their journey. But I really feel that tattooing is so intimate, and we're just here on this short time on this
Mhm.
earth. And so that was the moment when I was like, I want to do more of that. I want to I want to know about my clients, and I want to know their journeys. I want to hear their stories. Why do you get this tattoo? What does this mean to you? And I really enjoyed that. That was kind of the aha
I
moment for
love
me.
that. I love that.
Hmm.
Do you incorporate that philosophy into meeting a client, designing a tattoo for them, what
Yes.
in them
Yes,
those
I do.
questions so that
Um,
you can then design and create something?
yeah. So what I do now, because over the years, I've gone from a street shop, kind of not really street shop, but doing a lot of small tattoos to more meaningful sessions. I do about 2, 3 hour sessions a day. And most people, because I do advertise that I do those type of tattoos, I get a lot of memorial tattoos, also covering up self-harm scars or just any kind of scars or tattoos that they have that have bad memories. So we'll sit down. I don't draw anything up beforehand. We come in, I give about an hour time attached to their appointment that it's just for us to talk, for us to draw. Sometimes they come with an idea for me to tattoo. Other times they're just like, I don't know, here you go. And then we'll just talk. And then after talking to them, it'll just pop in my head. I'm like, oh, why don't we do this? And then they end up loving it. Um, but we design it together, because if I'm at home drawing by myself, I kind of go off on a whole different level. So I kind of need to be reeled back in, and my client, having that client face to face, really helps. And when it comes to memorial, I have a candle that's right behind me, and we always light it. We say a prayer, and we kind of sit there in the moment and just go, okay, we honor this person today, and that I leave the candle lit all day. And they're very appreciative of that. I used to have a friend that was psychic, so she would come in and she could actually read. She's a psychic medium, so sometimes she'd give a reading with those type of clients, and it ends up being a whole nother spiritual aspect to it, which I really love as well. Um,
I think it's really lovely that you take the time to connect with people. So full disclosure, I don't have any tattoos.
that's okay.
I've always wanted one, but I don't have any.
Okay,
So I know
I
about
got you when you're ready.
obvious. Well, thank you. I'll be looking you up. Obviously, I know the process. I've been with
Hmm.
friends when they've had their tattoos done.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely obsessed with tattoos.
Yeah.
Because it's walking art and it's
Yes.
amazing and it's such a personal thing. The thing that always, I'll be honest, if I was okay, I'm a terrible drawer.
Okay.
I'm not very good with drawing. That is not my medium, my creative
Okay.
outlet. And I always think about, as a tattoo artist, what you're imprinting and what
Mhm.
you're creating is forever.
Yes, it can be.
Right. I mean,
For the
unless
most
someone
part.
chooses to. So the creative path of that, the fact that you connect with clients on such a deep level, especially when you're doing the work that you're doing of covering up self-harm,
Hmm.
covering up maybe pieces of work that they don't want anymore, or they want upgraded, or they want changed, or creating memorials.
Hmm.
How do you get yourself, Cecilia Marie, into that space to create that?
So it goes back to kind of the exercise we did earlier. Every morning I ground myself that way. And, that visualization of my cup being half full, or, full, letting it overflow. We all have our own lives, and I have my own things going on. So I have to check it at the door. I really do. But grounding myself really helps. And then when I'm done for the day, I sit for a few minutes and kind of send the energy back to the universe, or whatever you believe in, send it back. And it just really helps me to stay in that moment. And I think also because I have been on this mental health journey for what feels like forever. um, I'm able to kind of put myself outside of that. But also, I use my personal experiences, and this is why I didn't become an art therapist. I was trying to do that. There are rules when it comes to therapy and your clients and telling them about certain things of
Mhm.
yourself. So that's why I use mental health advocate, because then I can tell parts of my story to relate to my client, to let them know, hey, you're not alone. I've been through it too. And here's how I got through it. And so just having that space and that support for somebody really helps me feel like I'm giving back. But getting myself in that headspace is the grounding techniques I do every morning. That's my go-to.
And how do you balance, well, how do you balance and still find inspiration? Because as you've said, life is life.
Life is life. Yes.
Lifing can be, lifing can
Yes.
be, it is always a celebration, lifing, but some days can be challenging, more challenging than other days.
Yes.
And everyone is going through something.
Absolutely.
And I think with some of the conversations that you're having, with being such an advocate for mental health, for the work you do with Operation Tattooing Freedom, which I want to talk about as well. And also you, as you have said, you're processing
Yes.
what you have also been through.
Hmm.
How do you find balance in that? And how do you stay inspired?
It is hard. What you said earlier today, we kind of get in a creative funk sometimes. Absolutely. This past year has been a hard one personally. And so, I try to show up for my clients, and most of my clients understand too. You have to allow yourself grace. That is something that I've learned the past couple years. I'm a hustler usually, and that's I come to find out that's my trauma response, and I throw myself into work to kind of prove to myself and to the world that I can do something, and that I'm not my past mistakes. And I've learned the past few years to slow it down, to live in the moment. And most recently, I had my apprentice tattoo that right here in the moment, and I
I
have
love
my
that.
my semicolon here too.
I
And
love that.
so that helps me. That I wanted something that I can look at every day to remember. Hey, don't stress out about the past. Let's not worry about the future. To live in the moment, allow myself grace. And that's something I've been learning the past year or two. Since I've been in this private space, it's allowed me to slow down, breathe. And that's really hard for a lot of us who are go getters. Um, my balance, I have to, I set my schedule to where I'm only working when I'm here. I do some stuff at home, but I really try to limit that, because and it's hard because a lot of us are multitaskers too. And with the ADHD, we're like, oh, we got to do all this stuff. It takes a lot of discipline. I have to go literally, no, I have to give myself that time. So when I go home, I try to turn off everything, and I enjoy dinner with my family. I call who I need to call to catch up. I take that bath every week, so nice bubble bath. And you just got to find the things that make you happy. There was an exercise we did in intro to art therapy that I'll share with you. And it had us kind of take little items that give you joy. So no matter what it is, and kind of piece them all together to create a symbol. And so I created a symbol that had like art supplies, maybe some tea, some crystals, a book. And those are things that I look at, and I put it on my fridge or just put it on my iPad, and I look at it and I go, okay, if I'm feeling particularly stressed, I'll kind of go down the line of like what I like to do. So I'll try to go skate. I'll go take a walk. I'll go to an antique store. And when those things don't work, it's hard. I just go down the line.
I
And
love
sometimes
that.
just taking a nap, really
Yeah,
helps. It's
100%.
finding
And
what
I
works for you.
100% agreed. And I think it's something that we discount in our
Mm-hmm.
lives because we want to hustle through, or we want to
Mm-hmm.
push through, or we feel like we're perhaps doing something wrong if we can't push through quickly and go, go, go all the time. And it truly is giving ourselves permission to find our joy, right?
Yes.
And I talk about it a lot in my classes
Mm-hmm.
with the people I work with. It can be a cup of tea. It
Yeah.
can be grounding yourself, going outside, take your shoes off, stand in the grass, right?
Yes.
It
Face
can
the sun.
it can be so many small things.
Yes.
Taking a bath, calling a friend, all the things that you have listed,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever else floats your boat and makes you feel
Mm-hmm.
really great. And it's so important to honor that within ourselves and to take that time for ourselves.
Yes. Self-care has definitely been something that's been a lot more popular, and I'm glad that it's, not looked down upon anymore, because in any industry such as hair, barber, or like tattoos, doesn't matter, you're surrounded by some individuals that make you feel like you have to work 24/7 to be successful, and that's not necessarily true. As I am teaching new apprentices the craft, I'm letting them see that you don't have to sit here and be married to your job. That's a lot of the older, generations will tell you, no, you got to balance your family life. And it's absolutely true. You have to take care of yourself first before you can take care of others.
Yeah,
And sometimes it takes the cup of tea or crying, like that's another thing too. And that kind of ties into therapy is, sometimes you need a good cry. You need a good like scream, like you just need something. You're just not allowed to like unpack and overdo it and like live there, you just gotta, it's hard to balance. It definitely is.
Yeah, I think, the thing that, again, when I first heard about you and met you briefly, that I thought was so important, and I believe we all have this, but we have it obviously in vastly different ways than what you do. We have it in our own way and our own lived experience, is that we can take that lived experience, and when we follow a creative path, we can take that lived experience and turn it into a path forward that not only pays it forward and holds the door open for someone else and feeds into our creative spirit and the passion we have and builds us a beautiful career and et cetera, when we can just acknowledge it and get really honest about it and share it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's what you've done. You've taken this creativity that Cecilia Marie has always had bubbling in
Yes.
there, right? With art school and hair and makeup and beauty and all of those things. And then now you're turning it into not only a career that is thriving and a business that is thriving, but into a way of giving back and sharing your lived experience with others so they
Yeah,
thrive as well.
correct. Yeah, I'm now, my team is growing as I've partnered up with another female tattooer that I knew before. And so now it's building a community of like-minded individuals. Because who you surround yourself, I really believe who you surround yourself really, what I forget what I always say, but something like you are who you surround yourself with. That's, there it is. And if you're around people that are just not making the right choices, or they're, they don't kind of walk the same path as you, it's really hard to grow in an area that's like that. And so you have to surround yourself with like-minded individuals who have similar goals. Now, they're not going to be exactly like you. You got to still have diversity, but at least having that understanding and respect. And now that I've partnered up with another female that kind of is the same thing, she's safe space and does a lot of like permanent makeup type things. And I love that I found another person I can connect with. And now we have like this little team we're building, and we want to do art nights, and we want to, be able to have little events too, and bring in people who specialize in mental health stuff. And I really think that's awesome to create that community, because it's very much needed. And I hear it all the time, when they go to other shops or other businesses, they're not friendly, they don't listen. And so it's really nice when we can create that for them and ourselves.
Agreed. And I think, again, it's the experience that we all have and the path that we've all walked, that even when it has been a challenging path and we've got some hurdles, or we're still overcoming hurdles, and that's okay as well, we can still shine a light for other people.
Absolutely.
And hold a door open and extend ourselves to help them. Tell me more about your involvement with Operation Tattooing Freedom and what the vet to vet sessions are about and what they
Yeah.
mean to you.
So I came across Operation Tattooing Freedom at a local tattoo convention. The founder, his name is Lewis Hunt, and he is, I think, believes in North Carolina, but he founded it. Basically, anybody who was a veteran in the armed services became a tattoo artist. And so he kind of got all these different tattoo artists. And what we do is we give back to our community, and they raise money. I don't take any of the money that they raise. I genuinely just donate a 3-hour session to one veteran a month. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a veteran. I have also donated to active duty members as well. If I, they come to me and ask, I have done that as well. And basically what it is, because we're not legally allowed to give, therapy advice. So what I do is, we just kind of sit there together, and I'm like, it's like a conversation with a friend, like, hey, when were you in? What did you do? Where were you at? And then the conversation really blossoms from there. Because a lot of times, we've all been to some type of war, unfortunately. And so just having that space to talk about something. And I think because I allow that, they feel just more comfortable talking to somebody, because it's intimidating to go try to talk to somebody about your, experiences with somebody you don't even know. But when it comes to camaraderie, you're just like, yeah, this is great. And they feel like they can say things, and I get it. They don't have to explain anything, because I've been there. I've grown up in it. I've lived it, and I continue to live it, being in a big military town. So it's something that I pride myself on, and I love being a part of that community. I love being able to help others. And so in our sessions, that's what we talk about. If they need help getting disability, I have contacts for that. If they need any kind of resource, whether if they're homeless, if they've had a disaster happen, or I know somebody somewhere, and I love that I built that. Plus I have clients that are therapists, that are mental health, whatever. I have somebody.
You share resources with.
I do.
You share resources with the vets that you work with.
Yes.
I think, I think anything, veterans are such an undertaken care of community of
really
individuals, right?
It can be.
They can. I think veterans are just so undertaken care of in the community. Absolutely. In so many different ways, that the connection and what you're doing, and to be able to, again, have a conversation peer to peer and create something that can bring a positive memory. When you look at it, you have a great memory, or you change your mindset in something, is really such a great way to show creativity, and also to help, and to be an advocate for people, and make a positive impact. What advice would you have for any? It could be an aspiring tattoo artist, it could be an established, it could be someone in a different beauty field. A lot of people listening are not in the beauty space at all. What advice do you have for people who want to make a positive impact in their communities in any way?
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, it's almost that intimidating factor again. It's like they don't know where to start. They don't know how. And you don't have to do this big grand gesture to help someone. You don't have to have a lot to help somebody. Like, I'm not super wealthy by any means, but if I have it, I will help in any way I can, even if it's just organizing something small, or giving somebody a jacket, giving somebody an umbrella, or just like buying someone a cup of coffee. It's in the small acts of kindness that you can give back. And sometimes you don't even have to be the person that's giving back. Sometimes you can just be the middle person. And I've had that happen recently, maybe about 1.5 years ago, talking to my client kind of about my family. My father is also a Desert Storm veteran. And like a lot of our older veterans who are 60 and older, it's different for them to where the VA isn't helpful. And I feel like our younger, like my generation, I'm 40, we're getting out and we're like, we're not taking that. We're going to get the help we need, whether you like it or not. And so now we're going back and helping the older generations. And I was just speaking about my father trying to get disability and all these things, and he was about to lose his house. And so, this was very fortunate this happened. My client's mom overheard this, and she was touched by the story. She had a brother that was in Desert Storm, and they've lost touch because of his mental wellness as well. So she was like, she recently inherited money from an estate, and she wanted to give back to a veteran, and she wasn't sure who she was going to donate to, another nonprofit. And when she heard that, she stepped in and was like, I would like to help pay for your father's mortgage for a year. And I was just like, wow, what? And so his mortgage was only $900, and she was like, I'm going to give you $12,000. And I was just like, even though it wasn't for me, but it was for my father. And I was like, wow, at least I can be a middle person. Even just talking about it got him the help that he needed. He didn't lose his house. And I feel like just the more we talk about it, even just spreading the word, sharing it online, like that's a way to help. So no matter what business you're in, no matter what trade you're in, even just the small acts of kindness, talking to each other, and that's where you start. And that's where the networking comes in. And it all starts with a conversation. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture.
I agree with when you say a lot of people don't know how to start because they think it has to be
right. It doesn't have to be big,
right, and grand, and it can feel overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to your story and what you just said, it doesn't at all. It is extending kindness,
mm-hmm.
and sometimes just even holding space for someone, which sounds like that is a
mm-hmm.
lot of the premise of your business.
Yeah, it is.
Right, is obviously the end result and the physical of the tattoo,
mm-hmm.
and the creative component that you're doing, as well as holding space for people.
Mm-hmm. I think because I allow that space, I mean, you're very vulnerable when you're in this type of situation. You're getting tattooed, you're letting somebody, or don't know to tattoo you with something permanent. There is some nervousness there. But because I put that out there that, hey, I don't judge you. This is a judgment-free zone. I've been through life. Nobody's perfect. You're not perfect. It's okay. It's like, you're okay. You're not okay. We're all okay.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And having that space really helps people, and it stays within me. I kind of have that client, patient, or however that works, confidentiality, and to where I'm not going to judge you, and you can be who you are. And we all make mistakes, and just sometimes being that one voice can help so much. I've had my own journey, and all it took was somebody to say the right phrase for me. And I'll give another trigger warning here. Years ago, when I got out of the military, I did not want to be here anymore. And I went to the VA hospital, and the doctor said something to me that it clicked. It just clicked with me. And it was like, so I always say this to everybody else too, is sometimes, you got to find something to live for, even if it's not for yourself. And that really helped me. So sometimes I just try to be that one person that can say just the one thing that you might need to hear. And it's just in those small acts of kindness.
Yeah.
That's really how it helps.
Yeah. One of the phrases I use is it's, turning the light on for someone. Just if someone, right, if someone can't see for whatever, or there's too much crap in the closet of their head or their space or whatever it is, just shine that light bright enough and just give them a little extra beam, to light the path. I think we can all use that.
Absolutely.
Whether we want to admit it or not, we can all use that, and we can all share that with people.
Mm-hmm.
What does giving back feel like for you? Because it feels, here is what I'm hearing.
Okay.
I'm hearing a woman that grew up in a military family, right? That's a whole...
Yeah, that's a whole other thing too.
But that's a whole experience within itself.
Right.
That is a military veteran herself, and a mother, and is really such an advocate now, from everything that you're sharing with us and what I know about you, for veterans, but also people that are going through some challenges, to help them through that. So what does giving back feel like for you?
I feel like as we get older, we become the person that we needed when we were younger. And so that's kind of been, now that I have children that are reaching ages of adulthood, and now they're, we all start to see the patterns of our lives. And, I want to be that person that I needed when I was younger. And giving back, I really also believe in karma and energy coming back. What you give out comes back around. And so I really feel like the more you give, the more the universe will give back to you. And so it just makes me feel good knowing that I've helped somebody, even if I don't get anything out of it. It just makes me feel like that's my job, my path. And it just gives me a sense of fulfillment I can't even describe.
No, you described it perfectly for you. How does that feeling, though, that feeling of when you're helping other people and you're supporting other people, right? The giving back of it, how does that feeling contribute to your creative journey and to keep walking your creative path?
Let's see. It helps for the times when I do feel lost or I feel tired, overwhelmed. It just, something will happen that will remind me why I'm here and what I'm doing and what I do is important. Because even more recently, I've had some health issues, nothing too crazy. Just, I have to have carpal tunnel surgery, and it's scary when our livelihood is our hands. And, most of us who are self-employed don't have a retirement plan. So, that's what, I keep thinking, well, what would I do? Why do I do this? And, what happens if I can't do this? What would I continue to do? And that's what kind of makes me think that I would still always give back. And even if I couldn't tattoo, I would give back in some sort of form or shape, because I feel like that's why we're here. And I just don't know how to really explain it. It just makes me feel good. It makes me want to do more. But I've learned not to do too much because you can get overwhelmed. So I just try to help where I can. And sometimes that just ideas present themselves and I just go with the flow of it. That's really just trying to maintain that. I don't know if I answered the question, but
no, you did. I mean, again, listening to it, I believe we all have these gifts within us that we bring out in many different ways. And it truly sounds like one of the inherent parts of you is to give.
Yes.
You are of service in every sense of the word, right? Like many of us will use the expression, we want to be of service.
Yes.
And it is true and it is genuine and we mean that. And you truly feel like a woman who is of service and you have been of service for your country, and are still showing up, being of service for other veterans, other people, people that need a little help, support, and love.
What you're saying with the service, that definitely resides with me and my personality. And not that if anyone believes in astrology, I'm a Virgo, and we are very service oriented, very detail oriented, and I feel like I thrive in those areas. And so that's, I like to plan, I like to do those things, and that really, as a hairstylist too, I learned so much how to serve our clients. I brought those things over to this because that's what we're doing. Really, we're providing service, and I think that's where I really thrive in any type of medium it is. Yeah.
As a veteran and an advocate, what message do you hope to convey to other veterans through your work and your advocacy?
I think the main thing is a lot of us, when we're going through things, we feel alone. That's probably the biggest thing, that nobody knows what we're going through. I don't want to burden anybody, whether you're a veteran or not. It's just you feel like you have to handle it yourself. And it's okay to not be able to do those things. And it's okay to let your guard down. It's okay to admit that you don't have it together, and it doesn't make you a bad person. I think that's probably the biggest thing I've learned, and try to let people know, like, hey, it's okay. And we can get through this together. You're not alone. And that's the main message, is you're not alone, and there's help out there. You just have to reach out and ask. And that's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's part of my business. What I named my studio is Sweet Surrender Studio. That's part of it too, where your sweet surrender is kind of like surrendering your pride, your ego, and realizing, hey, I've made mistakes, or I can't do this, or I'm overwhelmed. And it's okay to be like, hey, let me just stop everything. Let me take a step back. Sometimes we need that. And it doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you, a failure. Because you learn from every single thing.
We all need to learn to surrender in
exactly.
whatever.
So that's what I actually have tattooed on my chest, is sweet surrender, because it's okay. We have to do that. Absolutely.
Do you believe that people have callings from the universe?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I've had some crazy things happen. And when I have a lot of goals. I've always been goal oriented. And whenever I have a goal set on something, if it's just is not working out, no matter how hard I'm holding on to it, I've learned to let it go. And when I do that, the universe likes to go, hey, guess what? We didn't make this happen because we had this lined up for you. So then I let that go, and it brings me somewhere else. Totally, totally unexpected. Like, for instance, I never wanted to go to hair school. My mom was like, you should go get your hair license. And I'm like, what? I'm fashion, okay? And so I went, and it ended up being the best experience of my life. I went to Paul Mitchell here in Virginia Beach, and I learned all the stuff, fake it till you make it, and just like all the, what do they call it?
Tropes.
What they teach you. And they taught me how to be freelance, and how to be self-sufficient and be a great stylist, and all these things. And I took that and just went to, and it led me to body painting, which then led me to this and led me to that. And then all these skills landed me here. So I really see how my journey ended up here. And it's just like, sometimes you can't hold on too tight to certain goals. When you let go, that's when the breakthrough comes. And it's insane. It's happened so many times. So I've just learned to let go.
Yeah, 100%. And I also think that pivoting, right?
Yes.
And pivoting and being able to lean into what is that expression that you're right, you're trying to express yourself in a certain medium. It can sometimes take you on a little bit of a windy path until you find the thing, and then other people find that thing straight away, and that's their thing forever. And both are perfectly fine and perfectly great. But it requires surrender from both. How, because you believe that people have callings from the universe, and it's obviously given you a trajectory through the different parts of your career and the different processes to where you are now. Is that do you feel like it's part of that choice to honor and lift others up to heal the trauma that came about in their calling? You feel like that's part of your
I think so.
destiny?
It's definitely our trauma. As much as we don't want it to define us, it does help contribute to who we are and how we overcome. And I find sharing the journey helps others, and that's what I needed. I kind of did it on my own for a while, and I don't want anyone to feel that. Sometimes you just need that one person to hear you out or just listen. And I really feel like it only takes one person to really change that for you. And I'm so passionate about it because I've lived it. I continue to live it. And I have loved ones that, go through that too. So I just really feel it just fills you. And I can't imagine myself not being able to do that. So I think I answered that.
No, you totally cool. Did. It feels like a calling for you.
It does.
That's why I asked that question. It feels very much like it is truly part of your calling.
Yes.
And it feels like your artistic expression The way it outwardly manifests is in the art that you create and the tattoos that you create, but it feels like that is part of your calling.
Yes. I've had a lot of different, careers. I've done all sorts of things. And I think this is what really I've had my mind on for a long time. And it took me a long time to get my foot in the door. And once I got in there, I just want to open the door for others to help. And when I'm training other people or inviting other artists into my space, I want to make sure they're on the same journey as well. And I'm seeing it across, not just in my area, I'm seeing it everywhere. On TikTok, on Instagram, there are other like-minded individuals opening these spaces, and it's successful. We're changing things. It doesn't have to be the same old way. There's someone for everybody.
Yeah, there absolutely is. And I think the more of us that can share parts of our journey, our celebrations, because we should share our celebrations.
Absolutely.
And our challenges, that we feel comfortable sharing. I think we should share both. We shouldn't just talk about the challenge side, because there are also celebrations there. It is the balance of both.
Yes.
And it is okay to celebrate you, and it is okay to say, I've done
That's hard too.
done a great job. And it's hard for many people, sure, but it should be a balance of both. And I think
absolutely.
It's important to do that and to have these conversations. And you're right. There is a way to connect for many of us, whatever it is that we're looking for and whatever it is the support that we need. And the more people that keep advocating, as you're doing, and having conversations, the easier it is. As we start to wrap up, I have 2 questions, and then I like to do a recap.
Absolutely.
So one of them is, do you believe creativity is nature or nurture?
Ooh. Oh man. I feel like it could be both in a way. I feel like some of us are born with that creativity. And we were actually just talking about this. There's a lot of people that are passionate about certain things, and you don't have to be born with something by nature. You can nurture your gifts, and when you want to, if you're passionate enough about it and you want it, like, you find a way. I really believe that. And you can nurture yourself and your gifts and pursue, you have to take it upon yourself to do that. So I feel like it's a little bit of both, and sometimes more than others. You kind of teeter-totter.
And I have a question.
Okay.
Because I'm curious.
Okay.
I cannot imagine, right, not having had your life experience and not having your lived experience, I can't imagine that being especially active military is very creative. And I'm not, and that is not demeaning.
No, I understand what you're saying.
But you are busy. You're focused. You're saving people, and you're there for a job, right? And so I do not imagine, if you are in military / active military, there is a lot of creative outlet. Is that true?
It can be true. So when I was in, I found the time to be creative. And yes, the military life can be very hectic, but there's a lot of, and anyone in the military can attest to this, we have deployments, we have training exercises, we have to stand guard. And there's sometimes when there's some moments of activity where you are sitting around and you can be productive or not. And I was always filling up sketchbooks. If I was on, my downtime, we were in the field, or, during deployments, I brought sketchbooks with me. And anyone that was in the Army with me can tell you that.
You were future designing tattoos before you even knew.
One of my best friends from the military, we were in Louisiana for a training exercise, and I sat there and filled up a whole sketchbook on a future shop I would have. And I would have a hair salon or a boutique, and upstairs would be like a cool loft. And I still have it. And there are still ways that we are very creative. I know lots of other veterans who are actually in Operation Tattooing Freedom. They actually did tattoos while they were in the military. They were apprenticing while they were active duty. So they were working like 2 jobs. And a lot of times our units or commands need artwork, or, you know, everyone's still, even though military comes first, we're still humans and we still want this interaction. We would get hired all the time to make banners, posters. Um, so we still had the outlets there for sure. It doesn't seem like it, because when push comes to shove, when it comes to our job, yes, we get it done. But we still have our own identities. And that was something that made me, I knew when I got out of the military that I would still pursue something artistic, because I was always drawing, always. So I didn't let that, you know, stand in my way. I still found a way for my creative.
I love that. That's why I asked, because I imagine if you're of a creative, and I believe inherently we're all creative, it manifests in different ways.
Yes, absolutely.
I think if your creative expression is of an artistic nature, whatever that looks like, whether that's creating music or painting or writing or drawing or, right, the list is endless. Creating art, it's an endless kind of list for me. I would imagine being in the military could be something of a creative squasher.
It can
right?
be.
Because you're focused and busy, not because of any other reason. So I love to hear that you were active and still creative.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not every branch is like this, but, you know, yes, we have training exercises. Yes, we have deployments and we have different things. But when we're here stateside and it's normal operations, it's almost like a 9-to-5 job, depending on what your job is in the military. I can't speak for everybody. But for me, with my job, it was like I had a 9-to-5. You know, you had PT, physical, you know, exercise, and you had your job, and then all sorts of stuff. But when I go home at night, that's still my life. And I also sew. So I used to sew a lot. I used to paint. All those things I still got to do. And a lot of my friends had their own interests, whether it was video games or cars.
Right. So you can still show up. You can
still do it. Absolutely.
And before I do my wrap up, I have one more question.
Sure.
What does it mean to you as a woman?
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, it's a different thing. What does it mean to you as a woman to be able to go and represent your country and fight for our freedom and defend? Well, actually, not even fight for our freedom. What does it mean to you as a woman to be able to go into the military and defend us all?
This is a good one. So I come from a big family of military, mainly Navy. My mother was a veteran as well. So she joined when I was about 5. And she joined when I was 5. There we go.
Wow.
And so I grew up that way. And at the time when my mom joined, she was single, you know, divorced from my father. And she kind of set that path for me. You know, she was a very strong, independent woman. She always has been. And she taught me what it's like to be self-sufficient. And I saw firsthand how to make that work. And then I had a stepfather, and I had my father, grandfathers were all in. So I grew up seeing that. I saw how families made it work between, because almost everybody, well, not everybody. So my mom and stepdad were dual military. So they were both in. So I saw how it was like to have one parent alternate. They would alternate parents in the Navy. So one parent was always gone, and they just switched. And being a woman joining the military, I saw my mom do it. She was a chief in the Navy, and she was intelligence. So when I went to go join, she really guided me. And my recruiter was also a woman, so we were just very like, yeah, let's do this. And I was 17 when I joined. It was spring of 2001. So as you can imagine, 9/11 came, and I was married to my first husband, and we were both just young, joining. And because I already had it lined up for me, I already knew the importance of everything. I understood why we're there. I understand what we do. And so that really helped. And yeah, being a woman can be hard where there's often a stigma with that. No, women can't fight. Women can't be in the military. Women can't do this. And there is that. And so I was very fortunate to have an amazing, group that I was with. I was stationed in Fort Drum, New York. I was an imagery analyst. So I studied like satellite imagery, UV feeds and stuff like that. And my team was great. I was pretty much the only woman. There was a couple, but I was the main woman in my section. And I kind of had what I call little girl syndrome. I was tiny, 18 years old, 100 pounds. And I was one of those females in the military where you couldn't tell me I couldn't do something. Don't tell me I can't do something because I'm going to prove you wrong. And that's kind of how I was. I was this little sassy thing. And, I can roll with the guys too. So, and I think because my mom was the same way, I learned how to, that camaraderie and to talk, smack. And I think that's, you roll with the changes, you can't be scared of change. And I think my parents, my family really set the tone for me. And I recently found out too, my grandfather, who was a chief warrant officer which is pretty high ranking, he was actually on the board to approve females being allowed to go on the Navy ships. So he was, advocate for that. And I really feel throughout the generations, women have always been there.
Let me reinforce my question.
Okay.
I am not saying that women can't do it.
Correct. Yeah.
At all. That was not my implication.
No.
However, as a woman, there is a stigma.
Absolutely.
And as a woman going in and defending and stepping into the military and going in, especially actively at the time you did, and defending the country. There is a different stigma for a woman than there is for a man. That is, and yes, women can go and kick ass anywhere they need to go and kick ass without any problem. So that was not my implication.
No, I didn't take it that way.
Women are somehow weak.
That's been what I've faced in the past, and not necessarily when I was in. It was when I got out, and now as a veteran, and the only reason I brought that up is because I've had comments and people on the internet being trolls. They try to say that women have no place in the military whatever, which is ridiculous.
That is not the story that we play here, and we don't we don't play that.
That's awesome.
Clearly you are from a military family and a background. That doesn't always mean that even if that is the path that's put in front of you, that is the path that is taken. So, I mean, now kudos to your mother for being in the Navy as well as a woman and so high ranking, and obviously to you and all the service that you and your family have given.
Well, thank you.
Country. Reflecting on our conversation with Cecilia Marie on Creative Thrive, it's clear how creativity, connection, and compassion can transform our work and lives, and how giving back is part of that creative cycle. Cecilia Marie reminds us that it's in the everyday moments, the listening and the holding space, that we can make a real difference in someone else's journey. She reminds us that we never know what someone is going through, and when we can take the time to listen and hold space, we can change and support people in profound ways. And her take on giving back, that it's not for the thanks or for the return, it's because kindness and generosity are the marks of a purposeful life and service. But here's my personal highlight. Openness as a superpower. Cecilia Marie's bravery in tackling the tough stuff invites us to do the same. She's not just creating art, she's creating spaces for healing and conversation, proving that our creativity isn't just for us or about us. It's a bridge to connect, heal, and transform others also. Cecilia Marie, thank you for sharing your wisdom and heart on Creative Thrive today. And to everyone listening, let's take her insights to inspire us all. Your creativity and story aren't just your own. They're gifts to the world, ready to spark change and foster connection in ways that you can only imagine. Never underestimate the power of sharing your unique story. You have no idea who it can help. And if you would like to dive deeper into your creative and personal growth journey, then join me at Thrive Hive, where we explore these themes further with live monthly classes and a library of content. Learn more at thrivehive.co. And please support Creative Thrive by following, liking, and subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. Your engagement helps us to keep illuminating the paths of these inspiring creatives. Until we meet next time, keep nurturing your creative spirit and don't hesitate to let it soar. See you next time on Creative Thrive.